So what is Git? Now, if you're new to programming or if you joined a company recently, you might have heard about this term called as Git. And in fact, from last 3 to 4 years, everyone is talking about this Git. What exactly it is and why people is using it and how can we use it. So I will try to answer all those questions in this particular video. So welcome back, aliens. My name is Davin Reddy and let's get started. Now, Git is created by Linus Torvald. You guessed it right, he's the same guy who has created Linux kernel. Now, why he created another technology called as Git? So what happens, when you talk about Linux kernel, it's open source, right? And anyone can contribute. So if you are living anywhere in the world, you can contribute to the Linux kernel. Now what you can do, you can download the copy of Linux kernel, you can add your own features and you can submit it there. Again, they will not accept your request by default, but you have to provide some new features. The important thing is you can be a contributor to Linux kernel. Okay, so in this world we have millions of programmers, right? If everyone is trying to work on one software, how they can manage it? Is it that easy to manage? No, it's damn difficult. Trust me, even if you have 5 people working in a project, it will be difficult for you to manage that project. So what he came up with a concept called as Git, and in Git, it handles all those things of merging of different source code from different people and maintaining versions. So those things are provided by Git. So let's try to understand how Git works and what is Git. Now, Git is actually a distributed version control system. Heavy words, right? So let's try to understand those words here. Now, what happens is we have a concept of SCM. Now, it's not only for Git, the concept is there from a long time. Now, I'm not talking about supply chain management here. Now, SCM has lots of full form. Now, the full form which we have to see here is called as Software Configuration Management. Or you can also use one more full form there which is called as Source Code Management. Now, what happens, let's try to understand this. Let's say if you're working on a project, right? So if you are alone working on a project, now at this point you will write some code, right? And of course, when you get a requirement from someone, you don't get the exact requirement. What you get is a high level requirements. What you will do is you will try to make a product, a small product, which is also called as a minimum viable product, which is MVP. Now you will make a product which will not have all the features. And then you thought, okay, this is working. You got your first, the first working software. After some days you felt, okay, let's have some more features. Now what you're doing, you are changing the same project and you're adding new features. Now after adding new features, you realize, these new features are not working properly. Now what you will do? You have to remove all the features, right? Or maybe when you showed this product to your client says, okay, these new features are not that good for us. So what you thought, okay, let's remove all those features. So from the first product, you have added some new features, and now you have removed the features. Now let's say after some time, your client says, hey, those features which you have showed on that day, that actually is awesome. Now we want those features as well. Now what you will do, you will again write the same code, right? But luckily if you have a backup, normally we use Dropbox for the backup, right? So what you will do, you will go to Dropbox, you will copy that code and you will paste it again. But don't you think you are doing lots of work? And that too, let's say you are done with that. After some days, you have added some more features, you have removed some features. And after doing all those things, you realize, the last version was better. So what we normally do is to maintain all this version system, we have a concept of version control. Example, so let's say when you released your first product, that will be a snapshot version. After some time you thought, okay, this is the final version which you're going for, so that will be 1.0. Then after some time you will be saying 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and let's say now you're working on 2.0. Now what if you want the older project which is 1.2? Is it possible? So what we normally do is on Dropbox or maybe in your hard drive, we will create multiple folders, right? Which will have the backup of your project. So you will name this folder like this. You will be having 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, then 2.0. Just imagine if you have to handle all these projects and you have to remember which project has which features, right? You have to create a file there, maybe README file or text file where you will write everything. So why you have to manage all those things? You have a powerful tool here or a system which will do it for you. and that is your version control systems. Okay, now we can use any version control system, right? We can use Subversion, we can use Git. Then why we are using Git when you have Subversion? It's because earlier people used to work with centralized version systems, and now we use distributed version systems. Okay, what it means. So if we talk about centralized one, you'll be having multiple computers, or maybe you'll be having one computer and you'll be having one server. So all your versions will be stored on this server. So this is your machine, your poor machine, and this is the server. So what you will do, every time you write a code here, and if you add new features, the previous version will be stored on this server, right? This is centralized system. Now what's the drawback of this? So the drawback is you have a working copy, that is perfectly fine. But the version are maintained here, right? What if this server fails? What if you lose all your data from this server? It may happen, right? We are living in a world of hackers, and if anything is possible. What if you are traveling somewhere and you don't have an internet connection? Maybe you are on a flight, or maybe you are somewhere in a remote place where you don't have an internet connection. How can you get this? How can you get the repository? That's a new term, right? A repository is a place where you will have all your codes. Or you can imagine a folder on server, right? So if there's no network connection, there will be an issue, and there's a single point of failure. If this server fails, you will lose everything. So what if you have multiple machines? Normally what happens is if you're working for a company, every computer, every project data will be stored on one server. What if everyone can have their own copy, right? So we can create a copy of itself, so we can have our copy. So we'll be having a working copy, and we will be having something called as a local repository. So this is your local repository. On the server, we'll be having a remote repository. Now the advantage you have is, even if your server fails, that's fine. You have a local copy, right? And you can mirror your local copy to the server next time if your server fails. Now this time what we are doing is, every machine or every developer has their own copy. So this is called as distributed. So we are distributing the repository. So every machine will have their own local repository. Now even if you're in flight, or maybe if you're in some remote place, if you don't have an internet connection, that's fine. You can work on your project and you can create different versions in your local repository. And when you get the internet connection, just push it on the server. That will be awesome, right? And that is your distributed version control system. So initially people used to work with centralized, and now, okay, now does that mean we should only use distributed, we should not use centralized? See, both have their merits and demerits. Let's not talk about that here. But if we talk about Git is actually a distributed version control system. Okay, so the first one, distributed, which means everyone will have their own copy, which will have a local repository. And version control means Git will do the version control for you. Okay, is Git Git is like a Superman who will do everything for you? Not exactly, because you have to, as a programmer, you have to control that, okay? Git will help you to do that, but you have to use some commands like commit or push. So while doing that, it will maintain those versions. Okay, so that's how Git works. But then, what extra features it provides? Now there's also a concept called as trunk-based development. I don't know if you have heard about this before, but we have a concept of trunk-based development. What it means, let's say if you are working on a project, or maybe if I'm working on a project, maybe an Android project, and that project is built, so it is in development from a long time, and the current version which we are working is, let's say, 4.7. And 4.7 is a stable version. Everything is perfect, or not everything is perfect. In this world, we don't have any software which is bug-free, right? So there will be some or other bugs available in my system, in my software. That version is 4.7. And now we are working in a very new feature. And that feature, when it is added to the project, it will be 5.0, right? That's a major version. Now, if you are working on 5.0, and let's say if some of the users say, hey, there's a bug in your current version, which is 4.7. Now what you will do? Will you work on you're working on 5.0, right? You don't have an old project now. Can you work on two projects simultaneously? And it's possible. What we do is, if you are working on Git, let's say if you have a project here, if you're working on Git, and let's say if you're doing some work, by default, you will be having something called as branch. And that branch will be called as a master branch, okay? So let's say this is your 4.7 version. and you're working here. After some changes, you have done the commit. That means you are pushing your data to the repository, maybe local or remote. After some changes, again you are doing commit. After some changes, you are doing some commit. Now what is commit? Commit simply means save. Again, we'll talk about commit in detail later. There's a difference between commit and save, but just imagine we are committing it. Now if you're coming from SQL background, you know what is commit, right? So yeah, so we are saying a commit here, but let's say this is your 4.7 version. And now if you're working on 5.0, if you are working on 5.0 on the same branch, what will happen is you lose the original project. Okay, so the best one would be don't work on the same branch. If you are working on 5.0, what you can do is you can just create another branch. That is possible. You can create another branch which will name it as, let's say, new branch. Okay, so it's a new branch, and on this branch you can have your 5.0. So you're coding for 5.0. And after some time, if you feel everything is perfect, and by the time you're working on 5.0, you can still continue work with 4.7. Now this is your master, this is the actual one, this is your new branch. And the moment you feel 5.0 is perfectly working, what you can do is you can push, or you can send, you can merge your changes from this branch to the master branch, and it's very easily possible, right? So that's how you work with this system. So we have a concept of trunk-based development, right? We are creating branches to make it work. Now what else? So this is your trunk-based development. But then question arises, how will you implement all these things? We can create our local copy, right? So we can download Git for free. It is free, first of all, and it is free and open source. You can download the Git from the internet. If you're using Mac, congrats, you already have Git there. But if you're using Linux, you can install Git as we normally install other softwares. We're using Package Manager. Or if you're using Windows, we have Git Bash. Again, I will show you the steps in the coming videos. But then question arises, how will you get the remote version? Can I create my own remote repository? That is possible, right? You can buy a server, you can add your Git service there. But do we have to really buy those services? We don't have to actually. We have two different webs. In fact, we have multiple implementations. One of them is GitHub, or we can use Bitbucket. We also have some GUI tools to work with them. Like we have SourceTree, we have different softwares. Again, we'll talk about that once we start with the series. So I'll be using GitHub for the implementation here, but you can also try your luck on Bitbucket, right? So there are different softwares available. Okay, so what else? So this is the basics of Git, and we'll talk about the lots of features in the coming videos. Now, once we have talked about the theory of Git, it's time to implement Git, right? But the problem is, how do we implement Git? So first of all, we need some softwares to work with, right? Now, when we talk about Git, we can work with Git using command line, our favorite option, right? So what you can do is you can open CMD and you can search for Git, or you can perform some commands here. The moment you do that, it gives you an error because you have not installed Git in your system yet. If you're a Mac user, congrats, you already have Git with you. But for Windows or for Linux, you have to install it. That's one way. The another way of working with Git is by using some web-based Git tools or Git platforms. So one of the famous Git platform is GitHub. Now, if you have seen the video, or if you have seen the title of the video, you are sure that we are going to use GitHub. But then, do we have other options? Other than GitHub, can we use something else? Now, if you can see, we have some more options as well. We have GitLab, and we also have Bitbucket. So if I go to GitLab, in fact, let's explore GitHub first. Now, as per the tagline, it says built for developers, right? So awesome platform where you can work. You need an account here. Again, even if you don't have an account, you can actually search something here and you will find the source code of that. Okay, what it says. So from open source to business, you can use GitHub anywhere from open source to business. And if you scroll down, you can see some more options. Now, if you click on pricing, this is where you have we have more interest, right? Now, GitHub is free, but then why they have this pricing scheme here? So it says GitHub is free for to use for public. So if you are making an open source project where everyone can access that code and everyone can contribute, of course you can go for GitHub, which is free. But then let's say if you are working on a project which is specific for a business, you don't want to reveal your source code, then you can go for private repositories. Now for private, you have to pay some amount, right? Again, this is not a big amount if you are actually working on a business project, but then yeah, you have to pay for it. Do we have another option? Yes, we have GitLab as we discussed. If I click on GitLab, this is, so GitLab is a platform for modern developers. Now you can say there's a competition. Can you see that? GitHub says it is built for developers, and GitLab says a platform for modern developers. They've added this extra term here. Again, GitLab is also famous. And we have third option, which is from Atlassian. Now all developers or programmers, they know about Atlassian, especially if you are from Java world. In fact, from any world, doesn't matter. So Atlassian gives you lots of, what you say, a product for developers. Example, we have Jira, we have some other tools as well. Example for your Git itself, we have source tree, which is built by Atlassian. And now they are also providing you Git Bitbucket. Now Bitbucket is also a web-based Git where you can get all the things. In fact, they also have an option of pricing. In fact, in GitLab also you have pricing. Somewhere here you'll find the pricing scheme. But you can see that GitLab is used by most of these companies here. In fact, GitHub is also used by most of the companies. And same goes for Bitbucket. So it says for small teams it is free. And they also provide you free private repository. So if you are thinking about making your own private repository, you don't want to pay for it, of course you can go for Bitbucket. So we have GitHub, we have GitLab, and we have Bitbucket. So we have lots of other websites available, but these are quite famous. Okay, so what else we have here? In fact, if you don't want to get an account on GitHub, if you still want to use it, let's explore Linux. If you search for Linux, because the Linux is open source now, and it is open source for from the day it is built, and the source code of Linux is available on GitHub. Can you see that? We have Torvald's repository here. So we have Torvald, who is the founder of Linux, and you got a Linux source code. Can you see that? We have all the Linux source code here, right? You can explore this once you get time, and see the contributors. So there are 18,000 people who have forked this project. Again, we'll talk about this forking concept later. And we have 6,000, almost, what is this count? Is it 0.6, 0.7 billion commits? That's awesome number, right? Okay, so this is your three options. You have other options as well. Now let's create an account on GitHub. Of course, you need an account there, right? So we click on sign up here, and it will ask you for username. So let's enter your username. I will say Telusko training as my username, and I will mention some username. It's already taken. Can you see that I already have an account here? So when you make an account, make sure that you use a unique username, unique email ID, and unique password, and that's it. The moment you click on create account, you will get a GitHub account. Even if they can give you some more options, it will give you choose your plan. Example, if you want to go for a paid version, or let's try this. I will say Telusko Training 1, Telusko Training 1@gmail.com, and I will set any password, doesn't matter. Create an account, because I will not be using this thing later. Okay, what it says. Organization name. What's wrong with this? Okay, yeah, password cannot be blank. So let me set a password. And if I click on create account, it will ask you for the plan. So we are going for free plan because I don't want to pay for it now. And of course, if you are making a business project, you can go for the paid repositories. Click on continue, and it will ask you for the experience. So who are you? If you're new to programming, so they want to know more about you. Then who are you, a project manager or a developer, or both? Why you are doing code? You're a student, you're a professional, or you're a hobbyist, all those things. And then click on submit, you'll be getting your GitHub account. Now once you get your GitHub account, you can do lots of stuff. Again, we'll talk about those things later. So in this video, we have talked about different web-based options you have. In fact, we're starting with the web-based option, and later, once we become comfortable with Git, then we'll see the command line things, how to use Git on command line. Now once you have logged in your GitHub account, this is what you will see. Not the exact stuff. Example, here you can see we have two popular repositories. Now, if your account is new, you will not see this option. Now, I'm using this account from some time, so I got these 2 repositories here which I've created. And if you can see, there's a green symbol there. That is my activeness on GitHub. How many contributions I have done, and you can see some fancy stuff here. Let's not go there. Now, if you want to work with GitHub here, the first thing you need is a repository. Now, of course, you will not have any repositories by default, so you have to create a new repository. You can imagine a repository as a place where you can put your project. So let's create a repository here, and here you will say, okay, Tusk. Now, I will name my repository as Tusk because I love this word, Tusk. And okay, you can add your optional description there, not required in this case. Now, which option to choose, public or private? Of course, you will go for public because to go for private repositories, you have to go for a paid plan. Example, if I click on private, you can see it is asking for your credit card information. I don't want to share that. Let's go for public and initialize this repository with README. That means you will get a README file here. Now, in this README file, you can enter some data about your project, about the commits which you are doing, all those stuff. And okay, we'll talk about this later in some time. So let's click on this create repository, and you will get your repository called as Tusk here. Now, can you see that we got your repository Tusk, and we also have one file here which is readme.md. Now, this is a special extension which you get .md. Which stands for Markdown. We'll talk about Markdown in one of the video. So as you can see, we have some awesome thing here. Now, if you're new to GitHub, you will get confused with all these options. Trust me, when I started working on GitHub, I used to get confused between these tabs. So once you get some experience, you will get to know what each tab means. Okay, so if you see, we have a code tab here in which it will show you your code. The number of commits. Now, what is this commit? We have created that file, remember? README file, that is one commit. We'll talk about that, we'll talk about branch later, we'll talk about contributors later. What I want to do now is, I want to create a new file. Now, every time you change something on your repositories, you are doing some commits. Let's create a new file. So when you click on new file, now question arises, what new file I will create? Now, of course, we are programmers, right? So we will be creating a file depending upon which language you like. Example, you can write a Java file, you can write a CS file, which is C# file, you can write a PHP file, you can create a C file, doesn't matter. Git supports all the files. Now question arises, which language I will be using now? I don't want to confuse you, so if you're not comfortable with Java, I don't want to show you Java code as of now, right? We'll do that later. Time in, let's say if you're working with a normal file, and the normal file I will create here is called as recipes.txt. Now recipes, why recipes? Because we have one more channel which is Telusko kitchen, where we normally create lots of recipes. So let's create a recipe file here. So here I will maintain all the recipes which we have already done and we are going to do in future. So I will say welcome to Telusko kitchen. Let's zoom in. So we got welcome to the Telusko kitchen, and let's go down, and here we'll mention what we are doing. So we are simply creating a file which is recipes.txt, in which I have added a text. Again, we can add some recipes here. I will enter my first recipe as, okay, what recipe I will create? Maybe, okay, so I will say this is kheer. Okay, so this is kheer. Okay, I will say next one is pasta. So I got these two recipes here, and let's say recipes file created. So that's my first commit, and you can see that we have one more option which is create a new branch. We'll talk about that in some time. Let's click on commit new file. I know I'm talking about lots of things which we'll talk later. Trust me, it will make more sense once we talk about those things later. If I open so can you see that we got our recipes.txt here? If I open that file, it will have something called as welcome to Telusko kitchen and kheer and pasta, right? You got your file. Imagine you're working on a project, and in your project, this is your current state. You are providing these services. Now, maybe in future, you want to update some data. Of course, that's what we do, right? When you build a project, you don't build the entire project in one day. It takes time. So it takes time, right? So initially, you will write something. Then after some days, you will write something. After some time, you will write something. And after doing all those things, you will get the entire big project. Now, after every work, what you will do is you will say commit, right? So that you're saving your data. That's what we did here. Now, if I open recipes once again, this is my current file, right? Now, what if I change something? So after I will edit here, and I will say, okay, I want to add some new dishes. So I will say this is chicken fry. So I will add a new dish which is chicken fry here, and once you have added this, again I will do the same thing. I will say chicken added, and this on I will commit on the same branch, and done. So I'm committing the changes here. My job is done. You can see we got 3 recipes here. Now the thing is, what happens, okay, let me do one more thing, because we forgot to do one thing. At the end there should be a thank you, right? So I will say thank you. Okay, and I will say regards commit. Now there should be a good message, whenever you commit, there should be a good message which should make sense, right? Don't just say the way I'm doing now. So you can see we got this data here. Now after some time you felt, this 2 things we don't need actually. Maybe our viewers don't like non-veg, so maybe we can remove this part. Now, how do I remove this part? So what we have to do is we have to again click on edit, and then we have to remove thank you. We have to remove this kitchen fry, right? Or not kitchen fry, chicken fry, right? We have to remove that stuff. Or what we can do is we can just go back to the initial state. Now what I'm saying is, if you can click on code, you can see there's an option of commits. Can you see that 4 commits? And if you click here, it will maintain all the versions. Now this was your first version when you created this file. It was having only readme, and in that readme you had nothing, right? Then after some time you have committed one more thing, which is, okay, let me just go to 4 commits, and here we got recipes file created. This is your comment. If I click here, you can see we have added these 3 things. We have added welcome to the Telusko kitchen. We have added this plus, and then the enter, and then kheer and pasta. This plus means we have added those files, right? And you can see this green means you have added those files. You can see 6 addition and 0 deletion. So 6 addition, this is what you have added in your file. Okay, so we want this state now. Now how do you go back to this particular state? And you got this state, right? So if you click on view, this is your state. So when you're working on a project, and after, let's say you got a project, and after some time you have added some features, and those features are giving some issues. Now you want to go back. What you can do is you can just search for the version which you have done, and you can go back there. This is the awesomeness about any Git management system. You can use Bitbucket. Everywhere you've got the same facility because this is provided by Git. It maintains all your versions, right? So this is an awesome thing. So this is how you can use GitHub. So we have talked about very simple stuff. We have created a file which is recipes.txt. We have added some content, and we said we can go back to the previous commits, and that's the thing you can do. So we got this file here which is called as recipes.txt. If I open this file, you can see we have this thing. We have not removed chicken fry yet. Now what I want to do is I want to add some more details or some more recipes. If I click on this, let me just add some more recipes. I will say beans, and then I want to add some more stuff. Let's say, oh yeah, what else we can have? We can have pizza. Okay, so let's say we have these 2 things, but I'm not sure if we really have to add these features. Let's say if you're working on a project and you have added some two or 3 features. Now, if you say commit, those features will be added in your project. Maybe you don't want to do that in the current project. You want to have that in the next major version. Because normally when you build a project, you go for 2 different things. We go for minor versions, we can go for major versions. Maybe you want this thing in a major update. So you have a choice of committing this in the same branch. You can say, I've added beans and okay, beans and pizza. So add it. Now you have added these 2 things. Now you can commit directly to the master branch, because by default you will be having a master branch. Now it gives you one more advantage here, which is called as one more option, which is create a new branch for this commit. Now, what is the advantage is, if you create a new branch, let's say I will name this branch as could have. This simply means that I can have these features. I will say could have branch. So this is my could have branch, and I will say propose file change. Now you can see, okay, so okay, just saying a pizza added, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, I don't want to do anything now. So that's my thing. So if I go back to code, can you see that it gives you an option of branch here? Can you see that branch? It says could have branch. Now this is the new branch which I've created. If I see the recipes here, it will have all the recipes, the old one and the new one which you have created. But what if I go back to my own branch, which is master branch? Can you see that if you expand this, you have an option of master branch there. If you go to master branch, hey, can you see that we don't have beans and pizza here because we have added those things on a new branch. That means this is a branch where you can actually work on the current version. So imagine this is 4.7 version which you are working with on your software, and for sure which features you want to add, you can add those features here. Example, let's say you want to have extra features. Okay, what features I will have? Or maybe I will say thank you, and later I will say final copy. I'm added this text. Now the moment you add this text, and if you say recipes, this will say done with current version. Okay, or current version line. Now if you commit these changes, you can see we have two versions now in two different branch. In your master branch, you have this text, which I cannot see now. Hold on, is it refreshed? Oh, my intent. Okay, so can you see that we got final copy? That's my master branch. And if I go back to my could have branch, in this I don't have that final version done. Now what I want to do is, I want to reflect, so we have two different branches, right? Can we merge these two branches? I want to combine these two files, right? Because I felt, this is perfect. I want to have this pizza and beans in the current version itself. Can we do that? Can we just merge these two files? Let's try. What I will do is, I will click on this edit. I will say done my changes. Imagine you're adding some comments. So done my changes, and I will say commit once again. I will say done. I will say commit. Now what you can do is, you can just merge these two files. But how do I do that? We have to search for the option to merge these files now. Where is the option? I guess my internet is not working properly. It is working very slow. Okay, now we have to search for a place where you will get the option of merging these two projects, or these two branches. What we can do is, we can go to task, and here you can see we have an option of compare and pull request. Now if you click on this, you have to send a pull request. So you can see we have a base, which is master branch, and you are comparing this to could have, because these are two different things, and it gives you an issue. It says can't automatically merge. Normally it happens because what we have is we have some conflict here. The conflict is we have two different files. Okay, let me create a pull request and let's see what happens. So let me create a pull request, and it will show you where the issue is. And if I go, okay, so you can see that it says this branch has conflicts that must be resolved. Now why this conflict? Because if I click on resolve conflict, you can see there's a conflict because we have added these files in between. You can see that one file is saying done with changes, and other file is saying final copy. And this is done by could have, and this is done by final copy. So as a human, you have to solve this issue now. What you can do is, you can remove this thing, you can remove this space, and you can remove this. So this part came from could have, and this part came from master, and now you can merge. Remember, this one is also coming from could have, and once you have done with the changes, you can say mark as resolved. This is how you can combine two files. But Git is smart enough to combine these two. The problem is there was a problem with the spacing of the sentence. That's why it was not able to do that. But normally it does. Okay, so it says conflict removed, and now click on commit merge. So these two branches are getting merged now. So your could have features are going to the master branch, and let's hope it is done. You can see it is done. Want to merge 3 commits. Okay, now finally you have to say this. Can you see that it says no branch, this branch has no conflicts, Once you have solved your issues, you can click on merge pull request, confirm merge, and it's going on, and it is confirmed. Okay, so can you see that the merging is done, but how do we verify? Go back to code, go back to master, and you can see merge branch master into could have. So that is done. Go to recipes. Okay, now you got beans and pizza, you got done my changes, and you got a final copy. Awesome, right? So this is how you can create a branch. So if you are working on a project, you can create a separate branch and you can work on that project or that branch, and later you can merge. Okay, but then let's say if you have multiple people working on this, should we create multiple branches? That makes sense. We can have multiple branches there. But just because GitHub provides you multiple branches, that doesn't mean you should keep creating branches, right? Your branches should make sense. Next, what if you have someone who want to contribute to your project? Now, we will see that one. So in the next video, we'll talk about this forking, and we'll see how someone else can contribute in your project. So in the last video, we have seen how can you work with two different branches, right? So if you remember, we had two branches. One is master, and we had could have. Now we can have some more branches. If you think that you have multiple developers and they want to work on separate branch, you can do that. But what if you have someone who is not in your team but he want to contribute? Normally what happens is when you work on open source project, there are people who want to contribute in your project. Now in this, what we will do is, if I go back to code, and you can see we have two files, right? In a master branch, we have readme file and we have recipes. Now let me create one more file here. But then I don't know how to do that stuff, and we have someone in the open source community who want to contribute. So let's say that person is me. So I will open my repository here. So this is my personal repository, Navin Reddy 20. And if I want to contribute, how will I do that? So what I want to do is, in this project, in this repository, I want to create another file called as pizza.txt. So I want to define how to make pizza, or I want to create a recipe for pizza. I love pizza, by the way. Okay, so how do I contribute? So what I will do is I will go to Telusko training. In fact, there are two ways. One, you can search for that. You can search for Telusko training / the project name, which is, in this case, let me just check the project name. It is Tusk. So Telusko training / Tusk. This is one way, or you can get the link from the creator. So once you get this link, this is the project. I want to contribute here. So what I will do is, if I want to contribute, I cannot change this file, right? I cannot create a new file here. We do have a choice. Can you see that? So if you click on this create new file, let's see what happens. So if I click on this create new file, you can see it is giving you the option. But see the message here. It says you are creating a file in a project. You don't have a right access to it, unfortunately. That's not here. But then can you see that we have created a fork of this project? So normally what happens is, whenever you try to edit the file, it will fork a project in your repository. So this is how you can do it. The another way is you can click on this fork and it will give you the project. I will go back here and I will enter the file name. I will say the file name is pizza.txt. Now I will write the recipe. So I will say recipe created by recipe from Navin Reddy, and I'm a very good cook. So what I do, if I want to make a pizza, I will say there are some steps to do it. First, step one, go to dominoes.com, and step two, select the pizza and order. That's it. So this is how I make pizza. Okay, so I don't make pizza, I buy it from some pizza parlor. Okay, so once I have done with this, I will say created pizza.txt. That's my message. I will say propose this file, or propose new file. Now this is the file which I have created, right? So I will click on this propose new file, and it should create a file. But then question arises, where it will create a file. As you can see, if I go to my branch, I will see that file there. But where the file is created, and the file name is pizza.txt, you have added this number of lines, and I will say create a pull request. So once you click on this create pull request, it says, okay, what is the message you want to say? And you can see it says able to merge, the branches can be automatically merged. That's awesome, you know. And I will say create pull request. Now the request is sent to who? It has sent to Telusko training. Oh, that's great. The request is sent automatically. We are not doing anything. And the branch is patch one. Is it the branch? Maybe. So if I go down, it says there's no conflict and you can click on commit. Okay, anything left here? Everything seems good. You have added 9 lines, but there's no deletion of the line. If I go to code and if I see, oh, okay. Is it my project? Let me just go to my repositories. Okay, this is my, if I click on repositories, now this is the repository which I have created called a Tusk one. If I click on that, there should be a file called as pizza, not here. This is my master branch. It is there in patch 1. Okay, can you see that? It is, we have pizza.1. So this patch 1 is my repository name. This is my branch name. We have missed this step somewhere in between. So you can see we got pizza.txt and we got a pizza recipe here. So it is there with me, right? It is there in my repository. What about Telusko training, which is the original repository? If I refresh, of course it is not there in the master. Can you see that? It is not there. And we don't even have patch 1 here because patch 1 is only for Navin Reddy account. How would I get those changes here? It's very easy actually. You can simply click on this pull request. Can you see that from there, from my account, from my personal account, I'm sending a pull request to this particular account. And it says created pizza txt. Now as a Telusko training owner, I will check, okay, so this guy called as Navin Reddy has sent a new request. And in that request, let me just check what are things we have. It says created pizza, but I want to verify what is that. So if I open that, it says the recipe is from Navin Reddy and this is the recipe. That sounds good. Again, this actually doesn't sound good because I'm not making a pizza here. I'm ordering pizza, but for this thing, it's okay, you know. So I will see the recipe and everything seems good. I will click on merge pull request. If everything goes good, then only I will say merge pull request. If I think, you know, the code which is sent from the person or the contributor is not suitable for this project, I will send him some feedback. I will say, okay, we are the work which you have done is awesome, but then if you can change method number, if you can change 2 methods there, it will be good. So that's how you can send back your response. Otherwise, if everything is good, you can say confirm merge. It should happen. And nothing. Okay, it is done. I guess it is done. Go back to our code. And can you see that we got pizza.txt? Now this pizza.txt is not created by you. It is created by one of the contributors, right? And you can see that the contributor is Navin Reddy 20. That's great. And you got your offer. You got your pizza there. So this is how someone else can contribute in your project. And you can see we also got a notification here. So fork 1. That means one of the contributor has forked your project. Now what you can do is, you can have your own GitHub account, search for Telusko training Tusk, this one. You will find this link in description area. I will make sure that you have that link. Create a request, create new files, and send a pull request to me. So if I think your recipe is good, I will accept the request. Otherwise, I will reject your pull request. So let's see how many requests I get in next 2 days. So that's it. That's how anyone else can contribute in your project. That's how we can use fork. And in this video, we'll talk about how can we upload a project from Eclipse to GitHub. Now, of course, when you have an Eclipse project, there are 2 ways of uploading it. One is the standard way using a command line. So if you use terminal or command line, what you can do is you can write some commands and you can push this project on the GitHub server, provided you have a repository there. Otherwise, we can use Eclipse, now which is an easy way. You can use an Eclipse to push your project directly to GitHub. Now, of course, to understand this video, you need to have some basics of Git, what exactly Git is and what is GitHub. But if you know it, you can go with the video. Otherwise, you have to watch my previous videos on GitHub. Now, what we will do is, we'll try to push this project. We have a project called as my code in which I have 2 files. One is alien and calculator. Doesn't matter how much code you have. I also have a text file just to show you we can also upload a text file. I want to upload this project on GitHub. Step 1 would be, of course, you need to have a GitHub account. And I do have a GitHub account, so it's a free account. The only thing is, if you want a GitHub account which is public, it's free, but if you want a private repository, then you have to pay for it. Then public is fine for us. Now, if you can see, I have a GitHub account. In GitHub, you create different repositories for different things. Example, I do have some dummy repositories here. I have some, I was doing some live project there. So I have my own repositories here. Now, the step would be, of course, you need to have a repository, your own repository. And the way you can do that is by clicking on this new button. When you click on new, I will upload this project on a repository which is called as Flash. Now, Flash is basically my batch name, so I'm taking online courses where you have a batch called as Flash. So I'm doing it for them. So we have a Flash as a repository name. You can have any repository name, doesn't matter. You can use Flash, you can say ABC, you can say PQR, doesn't matter. And you have to select public, of course, and then why public is because it's free. Otherwise, when you click on private, you have to pay for it. And then we'll click on create repository, and you got your repository here. Now, in this repository, again, you can follow the instruction if you want to do it in command line. Otherwise, you just have to remember this link. In fact, you can copy this link and you can have it with you. So copy this link. We will use this link in the subsequent step. Now, once you've got this link with you, this is the main repository link you have. You can see we have got flash.git. Now, once you have this link with you, let's go back to Eclipse. Now, in our Eclipse, or before that, I just want to verify one more thing. If I click on this Flash now, you can see this repository is empty. You don't have any repositories here. The projects here. Now, what I will do is, in my Eclipse, I will try to push this project. Now, the step would be, right-click on the project first, and there's an option of team. Now, in this team, you have to, first of all, share this project. So, of course, you need to share this project in order to upload it on GitHub. Now, when you share, you have to first push this project on your local Git repository. And if you have installed Git, that's great. Otherwise, you have to follow the steps. Luckily, if you're using Mac, we by default have a Git installed. If you're using Windows, then of course you have to install Git. So there's a different procedure to how to install Git. Okay. Now, once you come here, when you say create repository, this is for local one. And I can select my own repositories here, or we can create a repository. I can say this is for this will create a local repository for me. I will say my repository name is Flash. Again, it's not compulsory to have that name, but then that's fine. You can have the same name on the local and the server. You can have a different name, doesn't matter. Click on finish, and we got a local repository. This is a local repository for me. And nothing to mention here. Click on finish. Now we got our repository. Now, but this will be a local repository. Okay. Now, how do we know that's a local repository? How do you know that it is shared? You can see we got this no head thing, and you can see this question mark. That means your code is not committed yet. So first you have to commit your project in the local one. And the way you can do that is by saying team, there's option of commit, and you have to select all the files which you want to commit. Again, normally we don't push all the files, but then that's fine. For the example, we can do that. I can say first commit, uploading all the files. All files. Now you might be thinking, by doing this, will it be uploaded on server? Of course not. So if I click on commit and push, okay, now it is asking you for the remote one. Is it remote one? Yeah. So when you click on push, it will ask you for the remote one. Okay, now we have a remote repository. And then we can see we got remote repository here. We're getting a name of the URL, and then I already have a GitHub account here, which is Navin Reddy, and I have set up my password also. You might not get this step. Again, if you have not got this window, don't worry, I will show you the other way around if you're not getting this way. And if you got this window, great. You can simply click on next, and you have to select the master branch if it is already there, and click on next, and it should push. Otherwise, we'll do another step. If I click on finish, it is pushing now. It is pushing all the files, and yes, you can see that it is pushing to a new repository, and click on OK. I guess it is pushed. Let's verify. Let's refresh this thing, and can you see that we got all our files here. You got your my code as the folder, and you can see we got all our files here. Now, in case if you have not got that window, finally we can have a round of applause that we have completed the first commit. But then if you have not got the option, what you can do is you can push on the local repository. You might not have connected your local repository with the server. In that case, what you do is you have to right click here and you have to say team, and there's an option of show in repository view in case it is not working for you, okay? Otherwise, it is good to go. In this, you have to create a remote one. Luckily, my machine was connected before with the server. In this case, you have to click on remote. You have to click on create remote because you are not connected yet, in which you can mention the name of the repository as flash or anything. You can say remote flash. You can click on OK. And here, you have to click on change, where you will mention your server, your repository link. Remember that link we have worked with? You have to paste it here with the username and password, of course, and then click on finish. And we are good to go. Save and push. It will work for you, right? The same thing. So this is the second step you have to do in case if the first step doesn't work. So that's how you upload a project from a local repository to this remote repository. Now we can have one more project here. We can create a dummy project here. We can say maybe any project, maybe a web project will also do. We'll say this is AAA and click on finish. And if I want to push this one, of course this is empty now, but we can create files and we can put the files there. If I want to push this project, it's very easy now. Just say right click, team, share project. Just to recap these steps. Again, I can use the same local repository if you have, and then click on finish. Now this is done in the local one. If you want to push it on server, we'll say team, commit, we'll select all the files. You can have any comment, click on push, commit, and it should be done. So you can upload multiple projects. It's not that you have to push only one project. You can have multiple projects in your repository. And you can see if I go to Flash, we got two projects here. You can make the changes and you can push here, and that's how you upload it on GitHub. It's that easy, right? So that's it from this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more videos, do subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching.